Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to today's episode. Today, we're somewhere a little different, and that's because we are finally doing what you guys have been asking me to do for a little while, and that's do an interior decorating video. So, without further ado, let's just jump into it. So for this tutorial, I thought that we should start off with small interior spaces. And I thought that there was nothing better to showcase that than to redo the interior of a villager house. Because I know in a fresh new world, it's really easy to start off in a villager's house. The first thing that I usually do after emptying the house is changing up the floor, because when you have one type of wood, it really makes it look smaller to me. It encloses the space. So I just like to add a little bit of stripped wood, usually depending on the type of floor that I'm doing, but in this it really just makes sense, I think. And because the space is so small, usually I like to add a loft. And it's a personal thing. I just think that lofts really give us a little bit more space than we would have otherwise. So in this one, for example, I'm going to make a very small staircase and try to fit things underneath it, because I think it's a very good way of just giving ourselves more useful things to play with. So adding a barrel, for example. Adding a barrel will just give us a little bit more storage, but also a very aesthetic look. It's aesthetically pleasing to me. And then we'll add a little bit of a table, and I totally put that in the wrong place because I'm a dork. So, so putting a little bit of a table will give this just a focal feature. I mean, it's not useful, it's Minecraft, but it just creates a little bit of a scene, right? So this is just somewhere we can go to relax underneath our little awning. A lot of people think that it just creates a little bit too much in an area, but I think it really helps just set the mood. And a lot of decorating an interior is just setting a mood. You just want it to look appealing and want it to look like it might make sense and isn't as empty, because we could all just fill a house with storage and it would be fine. So up here, I really like the area, but I think it probably needs a bed. And for this one, I think we'll go with the classic red bed, because why not? It's, tried and true, oldie but a goodie. And then this is a really small space, but we can add a little bit to it by adding a barrel with a flower and a flower pot, just to give it a little bit of depth and a little bit of, charm, I guess. So I think what we'll need to add is probably a railing. If it goes all the way over, it could look like just a feature, and we can probably hang a lantern or something from it just to give us a little bit. Okay, well, that doesn't work because you can't go up the stairs. Rude. But you know what? That's okay, because we can figure that out as well. We can add probably another. Hey, excuse me, villager. So, all you have to do is take down the lantern, put that back, maybe put this in the middle. That gives it a little bit more of a purpose, I think, and still lets us keep the staircase and the fence posts. So a lot of this is just reworking and trying to figure out what looks best. So of course, the Minecraft generation isn't the best when it comes to roofs, so we can just switch it up a little bit. We'll add a fence post, a hanging light, makes it a little bit more believable and just a little bit nicer. And my favorite thing about little houses like this is I like to try to create as much of a little footprint as I can by using the most amount of space. So adding a trapdoor and a chest right here will give us a little bit of something, but you know what? Let's instead make this more useful and add a barrel, because, barrels. but it also is just nice. So let's add a few more chests, and let's see. If I put one up here, I forget I can fly in creative. That gives us something up here to look at, but I really don't like this roof. It's too close. That's not accurate. So I'm gonna fix this and I will be right back. Okay, so roof is fixed. Gave us a little bit more headspace up here, which I really like. So I'm gonna actually take out these bark blocks. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do this on both sides, but you know what? Let's just remove that and take it from there. So adding in, oh, nope, that's not right. Well, I'll fix that in a second. So if we add those and add these, we then get this neat okay, stairs. So if we add these barrels, it gives us a little bit more dimension and a little bit more of a pattern. Kind of takes the focal point away and it doesn't enclose the space. So I really like using the barrels, plus, you know, extra storage. Can't really argue with that. And then let's do something with this blank spot. So I think that over here we could really use some bookshelves with a furnace, and then flower pot, flower, and that really fills in the space quite nicely. Now it's time for some paintings, because you can never go wrong with a few paintings. It really makes the interior come together, I think. But let's add an armor stand to fill in this weird blank space that was in the corner, because I don't really know what else I'd want to put there. I could put a table, but that's too close to the staircase, and that would just look silly. So let's get him clothed. Come on, buddy. Ah, looking good. So that's pretty much all of the space downstairs. I think if we tried to do something else, it would just look silly. So, no, there we go. Jessica Rabbit makes everything look better. And now, okay, let's put some blocks, get that to be a one wide painting. There we go. Yeah, I like that. So then, come up here. Let's fill in this space. Ooh, purple. I like it. Nope, not redstone. No. There we go. Something different. So there we go. This is pretty, I think, done. Maybe I'll add some carpets. Adding some carpets might just be what this needs. A little pop of color. Maybe we can add it upstairs too. Let's see. No. No. That did not look good. Now that this is all nice and cute, I think it's time that we try a little something else. Okay, so sticking with our revamping a village theme, I think we're gonna start with a inside of a blacksmith's area. So this one is one that a lot of people do, and a lot of people find it pretty hard to get fireplaces correct or to get the inside of a workspace building the right way. So I like to start off with where I want the chimney to be or where I want the cooker to be. And I'm obsessed with the fireplace under magma block look. I just think it's cool. And it's an easy focal point to start with. So I generally like to put stairs or slabs, something up front to give you that depth so that you keep yourself from going in. And sometimes I like to fill it in with a lot of blocks. Other times, you know, you really need the furnaces or the blast furnaces or the smoker now. And what you'll do is you'll just make it really broken looking. I mean, it's a fireplace, so in my opinion, you don't want it to be very uniform. You don't want it to look like it's just all super well put together. At least in this type of build with the cobblestone and with something that looks more natural, I feel like it really needs to have this depth. So I use a lot of stairs, a lot of slabs. For me, the key really is variation. You really want it to look as varied as possible. And I mean, there are some people who really like that modern, sleek look, and if that's what you're going for, then that's great too. But for me, when it comes to like a blacksmith's area, it really feels like it needs to be broken down. And even with these really rustic or functional builds, I still like to add a lot of details. So right here, say I would add a table, because in a real blacksmith, they would have to work with things, so they need tables. And this isn't like the typical table that I normally do. This is just like a workbench, I guess would be a better description. So you can put things like the new grindstone or anything else really. And I don't really like that. That'll probably change. But that's what I mean. You can just add a lot of detail to it. And even if it's not the most functional, it really does just bring a room together. And just like the other house, it's really important to add texture and variation into your floors, especially in something as outdoorsy as this, I guess. Like, it's not even outdoors, but I mean, just adding some gravel and adding some andesite into stone floors really is going to give you that worked look. I mean, this is supposed to be a blacksmith, so it's not supposed to be pristine and, nice all the time. It's supposed to look like somebody works there. So adding some barrels towards the ceiling, I think, adds a lot to a build, especially a workspace, because you're going to need that storage because they make a lot of stuff. And I get it, it's Minecraft, they don't really make a lot of stuff, but you gotta get the overall picture. So I like to add shelving units and just a lot of function into a small space. I feel like we can add some depth and other things, but in saying that, I really think we need to figure out this door situation. And here we go. I really didn't like how it looked with a door, so I thought maybe adding just a nice open space would make it look pretty good. So, I mean, I've still added that variation with the stair blocks. It makes it look more open while still looking like it's a building. And I'm not quite sold on the amount of furnaces we have here. And I think I want to move this thing because it just doesn't look good there. So adding it here, removing it from here, maybe adding another set of shelving units. Oh, I hit my head on a lamp. Maybe adding another set of shelving units will really make this look more used. And of course, if you add a little bit of that variation, even though it's the same block, I think it looks really good. And that's another reason why barrels are just kind of amazing. But let's see, what else can we add? So I think it would be really nice to add just a little bit of a fireplace here. I know that there's the big, working fireplace, but just a little bit of a smoker might be pretty nice, and adding it in different directions kind of gives it a little bit of a different look. I mean, it isn't super uniform and it looks pretty nice. And then adding the stone walls on top just gives it a little bit more dimension. And I know I say dimension a lot, but it's really important for builds like this to give it depth because it is such a small space. It really makes a difference. And then let's just add some blocks just to make it kind of look similar. I don't think I want it straight up like that. You need to have it go off a little bit, in my opinion. That's what I like. Some people, they like it straight up, but for me, I like the little bit of a bendy. Gives it a little bit of character. So let's add something here, just a little bit of light. And now that we have the general shape, I really like to do things in steps. So the first step obviously is get kind of your basic things down. And now it's time to add the finer details. So we have this little bit of an open space. Easy thing to do is more storage. Just adding, those focal lines when you come through the door just adds a little bit to the build. It makes it look more detailed and more real. So now this fireplace, it doesn't really do it for me. So I'm gonna add in some more furnaces just to give it more depth and more purpose, and it just looks better to me. So adding some stairs, so now when you come in it really draws your attention. So from back here it's not that impressive. Go in and it is fully decked out. From the floor to the ceiling to the doorway, it all has a purpose. And now let's try something a little different. So staying in tune with our starter area designs, I thought that there's nothing better than to do a little bit of cave interior, because we have all been there where we start a world and the first place that we find is a cave, and we end up staying in that cave a little bit longer than we intend. So why not show you how to maybe design the inside of a cave so that you're not just living out of some chests while you're down here. So the thing that I like to start with is bracers, right? Because if you're in a cave, you probably need some wood pillars to hold it all up, even if it is Minecraft and it all stays there anyway. So I like to add a lot of rough lines. When it comes to cave building, I don't generally like to have things really smooth and put together, and I totally put that one in the wrong place. Yeah, there we go. I really like things to look broken down and run down. It just, to me, really suits the inside of a cave, because if it's inside of a cave, it's not supposed to be pristine and perfect, and not all the lines are supposed to, well, of course, gravel doesn't go on top of stairs, sorry. So just adding something like that gives it a little bit of flavor. It just makes it look a little better. So then you can add lamps and a lot of hanging things just to give it more light, and again, it looks like you're in a cave. The next thing I like to do is, sticking with that ruined feeling, I really like to kind of clean up the ceiling, because I don't want just rocks, because even if we are just staying here for a short amount of time, I still want it to look nice. So adding slabs and hidden lighting and stairs, it really just helps kind of bring it together. And we can fill in more of this space, adding, like I said, some more hidden lighting, because even though we have lanterns, which look really good, we still want to make sure that it's nice and bright, because the worst thing that could happen is having a mob spawn inside of your cave, which I've had happen quite a few times. So of course we'll add a little bit more structure, adding more wood beams, adding cross beams. It's just going to make it look like we really have bunkered down here. And a little inlet like this is kind of the perfect place to put some storage. So you just break out a wall, texturize the back, of course, because I really don't want just dirt everywhere. And after we've filled in all these spaces and gotten rid of the dirt, then we can really add some storage and maybe some lighting. And then here you can throw in things like crafting benches or furnaces, just to kind of make the space really useful or look like it has a purpose. So then here we can add some decor. So I know I like to add a lot of things like bookshelves or more barrels with, maybe a little bit of potted plant action. I just like how that looks. You turn a corner and there's just like this little nook. So then let's see. I want to add some lighting up here. So maybe a fence post with that. And then of course we'll change the terrain. Maybe add some stairs and some more, let's see, some more barrels, add some more storage, and then this looks like it might be a good place for a bed. So put a little furnace there, maybe another flower pot, just to give us, more dimension. I know I'm gonna say dimension this whole video. So let's try to create a nice shape here, because you don't want the walls to be very flat. So some inset barrels might look really good. It just gives it a different look, and it kind of just adds something different. So let's see. So let's just remove this last piece of dirt. Let's see, maybe a stair to create more dimension. And then let's move on to some real storage. So let's make a little bit of a storage unit. And I think right here on this wall is a really good place. And I totally placed those trap doors wrong. Okay, so right here just seems to be a natural place. Let's break this. Ooh, that's so satisfying. And then add another one. Right. Okay. So I think 3 high will probably work, but now we need to take some of this spruce wood and bring it down to make it look more natural, or not even natural, just to make it look like there's a purpose behind this area and make it look really filled in. So let's see, how does that look? Of course, I placed I placed those in the wrong place. Okay, so we'll do 3 high, I think. I think that's good. And then we'll do this. Yeah, I think that's gonna look really good. And then we'll just fill in this space, because obviously we can't use it and nothing can spawn there, but we do want to still make it look pretty. So maybe something like this. Yeah, there we go. And I think that this kind of just really tied it together. I mean, it makes it look really functional, and we still have this nice open space, so it doesn't feel too cramped and just feels like everything has a purpose. And that's all for us today. I hope that this has helped you in some way. If you would like to see more, let me know. And I'll be glad to, help as much as I can, because this was actually kind of fun. But that's all for today. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Catch your breath and you sleep.